Okay, guys. So today's topic of discussion is an AI automation with uh, Make.com platform. So recently, I built an AI automation for one of my client business, and their business is a digital. So I thought let's make a content about that. It's not actually their automation, exact automation. I just made a replica of their procedure and for making this content. Okay. Throughout this video, you will get what struggle point that I faced so far, and at the end of the video, I will show you the running of the all the automation nodes. Okay, so actually the business is a digital marketing service. It's a digital marketing agency. So they'll get they'll get the leads from the multiple channels, either from the performance marketing. In the performance marketing, they will map this all these leads to the a tally form. And second channel is an email. So they will publish their emails at most of these points, I think, in the offline as well. So also there is one more thing is WhatsApp. I actually collected all the leads from these three channels. Basically, one is WhatsApp, one is Gmail, and one is Telephone. I'm going through each of the node first, and I'll give you a brief explanation. At the start of this scenario, we have this webhook. This will collect the data from the multiple sources that I spoke, and from the tally form you will get all these fields directly, but from the WhatsApp messages and from the Gmails you're not going to get all these things directly. So I built these effects routers to make all these data meaningful and eventually save it to the Airtable. Then what we do is score all of the leads to prioritize the leads. So that's why I'm making this HTTP call. I'm using the Claude APIs. Okay, all these APIs are using Claude Haiku 4.5, and you can see this is the model. So yeah, so after getting the score, we'll pass this data, and then update the Airtable again with whatever the score of the lead in the Airtable. And then we're gonna route these leads into the multiple way. One is the score is greater than 7. You can see the score is greater than. This is a more this is the way we are prioritizing the lead. So if the score is greater than 7, based on all the context line, I mean the urgency of the client and whatever the budget of things like that, next action is send a Gmail to the client. So what we're going to use is we are going to use this Claude API to write the Gmail body, and based on that score we'll make more beautiful score is greater than 7, or if it is less than 7, we're gonna approach to a more in a generic way with using Claude. I mean the email body content is very more like a generic. Send the Gmail, we'll add it up to the Slack. We actually using the Slack free tier, and in that Slack we have the channels of high priority leads. I will show you that channel and everything, and in that we have a message called okay, I just applied for this lead and things like that, and this is a high priority lead, and somebody wants to take this up. Okay, some message, something like that, to make the employee to miss out or delay the reply of the follow-up, okay, for that lead. And then we are getting to the HubSpot. We need to create a deal and association from the HubSpot. For that we are using three HubSpot nodes. One is for create or update a contact, and then second one is after we are creating this contact, then only we can create the deal, and then only we can create an association. So I'm going to that sub scenarios where we are actually collecting the leads. So one is the Gmail trigger, and yeah, just getting this Gmail trigger. Batch these emails. That's the first. Whatever the emails we are getting in this Gmail, we're gonna make this HTTP call. From that, what we're gonna do is we are collecting those details from that raw body text. So this is just a JSON pass. After we use using JSON pass after every Claude API call. Okay. Then next is this is the webhook that we're going to see in the main scenario. So we just call this scenario and this webhook end will post all these details into the that scenario. So the data will get into the main scenario. Okay, so this is the Gmail trigger and two more link source. and one is WhatsApp and one is this Tally form. For the WhatsApp, we are using Twilio. The other thing is the Tally, and we can use the same webhook API in the Tally as well. The client submit a Tally form, same webhook endpoint will be called and sent to this data. So the main scenario will get the data. Okay, now I'm going to show you what are the challenges that I faced while building this workflow. I'm going through one by one challenges. Challenges one by one. Okay, so first thing is JSON parse issue response from Claude is not strictly JSON prompt refined. So while working with this Cloud HTTP, you will get in the next thing is you have to get the response as a JSON response. Otherwise, the next node or further you can continue this workflow. Writing the prompt first time, I didn't get the output as a exact JSON, so I refined refine the prompt again and again to get this JSON object. So you can see in the prompt there is respond with only a raw JSON object, no markdown, no backticks, no explanation, and I will explain a format as well here. Okay, so this is the way I tackled the first challenge. And going to the next challenge, that is taking too much tokens when I used Cloud Sonnet 4.5 instead of Cloud Haiku 4.5. So the first time I called the Cloud API with providing the model of Sonnet. So it is a expensive model. So then later I switched it to Cloud Haiku 4.5, which is 3x cheaper than Cloud Sonnet 4.5. Okay, so that's the second thing that I tackled. And next thing is reduce max tokens from 1000 to 100, still getting the same quality output since it's not a deep level task. So here you can see in the prompt I mentioned max tokens is 100. These output tokens that we want to that determines the quality of the output from the LLM. So I make it from 1000 to 100, and still we are of output, because this is not a deep level or high research kind of task. We are just making some extracting some values or things like that from the from the text, right? So it only needs a 100 or 200 as a max token, so that we can accomplish this task in a more cheaper way. Okay, so that's the second thing. And going to the next challenge that I faced is run the flow again for testing charts from form submission. Instead there is option for return with existing data. So in this by building this entire workflow, I have been testing again and again to fix all these nodes, right? So if you are connecting one node, you have to test the workflow again from the beginning of the workflow. While running the workflow from beginning, you have to consume your the make.com token one by one. For each node execution, you have to consume one token. So one currency, right? One currency of the make. So that you don't have to. So the thing is, if you want to do the workflow again, so you don't have to submit the data again. So initially I have to first implemented the tally form to this tally form as a lead source. So I have to submit every time the form to make a test when adding a fresh node. So then only I figure out there is one option where here you can see all this all the workflow we have done in the past, whether it is failed or it's success. You can click this and again run it. This is gonna execute. So that's the way you can save a lot of time by doing that. Okay, so the next thing is since I use the personal Gmail, the mail goes to spam. Resolve this by using custom domain email with configuring SPF, DKIM, DMRC. So if you are using a Gmail node in your workflow, so you have to send this Gmail autonomously, right? So this is mostly going to the spam folder. When I'm checking this inbox, it's not finding in the I can't find the Gmail that I been sent in inbox. So I checked in spam as well. So there's only I can see this see those mails that have been sent. Okay, so then only I just figure out that you can send with your domain or your Gmail. I mean, with Gmail to a actual inbox. You have a custom domain with not only the custom domain, you have to configure the SPF, DKM, DMRC for that custom domain. Then only there is a chances of getting the mail to the actual inbox instead of the spam. That's the next thing. Okay, so going to the next challenge is a mediocre techie can make the automated workflows, but the output or impact of the workflow really depends on the sales marketing skills of someone who are doing this. So what I mean by that is if you can build any kind of automation with adding a infinite number of nodes and infinite number of apps or tools, but the end of the goal of this entire automation is to make it your system or your workflow more efficient, right? So that's the only thing can figure out by a actual sales or marketing guy. So only that people can efficiently implement this kind of workflow. Not only an average tech person can't able to do that level. So that's the next thing. And going to the next one is why we need a leads ranking stage before HubSpot when HubSpot can do it itself. So this is the HubSpot HubSpot node. So basically HubSpot's node I already told you, spoke with you, right? The HubSpot is for creating and managing the leads, right? So it's just basically a same line. If a client onboards your business, or if a lead gets if a lead connect with your business, there is there is a more chances of bouncing that lead, right? So so that's why this significance of the HubSpot platform, which is making that lead into the actual client. So that's the transformation is what is done by this HubSpot. So so why I'm using why I'm using a ranking system here in this is the ranking system, right? I'm making an Claude API call for ranking the lead based on the different kind of parameters. So why I'm doing this when we already have this HubSpot, right? So there is a difference between HubSpot lead scoring and this HTTP called lead scoring, the Claude lead scoring. There's actually a difference between this. That is what I'm telling. The HubSpot can do it. It's the low tier HubSpot can make the rank by role based. Only the HubSpot can make the lead ranking by some rules, right? So it's based on some direct input as a budget or something like that. So it cannot rank the lead by understanding intent, urgency, language, context, etc. So what I mean with this is intent, urgency, language, all these things we can get it from the WhatsApp text message or Gmail body content, because that is all texts, right? Raw texts. So only an HTTP or a human can process these things, not a HubSpot low tier version cannot lead this course. That's why the significance of a node here, a scoring Claude API called node here. Okay, so going to the next point. HubSpot only accept their ID for deal stages instead of stage title. So when I'm implementing this HubSpot, you can see here are sorry, this is in the next okay, in the here you can see this is a node of creating a deal. That's the node. So here you can see some I'm using certain IDs here, which is a which is a ID I taken from that HubSpot dashboard, which is mentioning some deal stages. These are the deal stages I created in the HubSpot, where I created these deal stages. While creating a deal stage in this HubSpot, you will get a ID, unique ID for that particular deal. So you have to provide that ID here. Then only this connection will be established, okay, or the data will be sent. So that's the next thing. And let's get into the next point. When I want to get lead from multiple sources, so I used webbook node. There is confusion while mapping fields from webbook output set variables. So that's exactly another challenge that I faced. I spent a significant amount of time on figuring out this thing when compared to all these things. Okay, so why I'm saying this is because you can see this is a this is a make.com internal tool where we can map all the data from data came into the webbook, will maps to this tool. So with using this tool only, you can map all the data to the next couple of nodes. So this is a variable name, lead name, and I'm figuring out this data fields value from. You can exactly get this data from the webbook. So you have to this is actually a structure, and you have to carefully provide these numbers, I mean which array you are getting the data and things like that. So that's why I spend much time to figure out these things, but it is actually simple. Once you get the idea, it's simple. So now I have exact idea of how to map a webbook data to this whatever the nodes after this webbook. Okay, so that's the next thing. Also, one more thing I need to mention here is next thing is in this thing we have multiple routes to accomplish the workflow. So the idea of using this router here is one is you can either have this Gmail or Tally form leads, or you can have this WhatsApp lead. So the WhatsApp lead goes to this route, and the Gmail and Tally form Gmail and Tally form leads data goes to this route as well. So why I'm using a separate route for the WhatsApp, that's the discussion. So I'll tell you what's the importance of that separate route, because you can see here is the API call which is having the prompt. I'm saying exact lead information from this WhatsApp message sent to a UK marketing agency called Spark Agency. Exact sender's name if mentioned. So I'm extracting all this data from the WhatsApp chat because all this you can see. So you can see here the sources have one. If the lead source is Gmail or Tally form, I will have the webbook response one.data.fields. There is a fields in the from the sources. So if I in the WhatsApp we gonna have that data dot fields, because I implemented this webbook in the Twilio directly. So I can control that response, whatever the response sent by the Twilio, so it directly reaches to webbook. That's why I implemented this if else route. So while then I figured out the output from the Twilio that get into this webbook not having this kind of response. I will show you what's the response, then you will get the picture when I am demonstrating this. So that's why you will get an exact message and things like that in as the output response from the WhatsApp, from the Twilio. So that's why I made another API call and make a JSON, and we'll have this text output. Then I map it to whatever the variables we have, lead name and lead contact, everything to the again to the system. So then we have the merge node. Only if you can access this merge node only if you are using if else merge. So sorry, the if else node. So you can see all these set, which is again if the you can see this is an if else condition. If is the top route, and you can see 90 node lead budget, which is coming from this route, and the output value is this is the bottom route. You get the lead budget from here as well. So I mapped all these all the parameters, all the variables from top and bottom routes based on the if else conditions. So then you can see I already told you, just like I told you, all these variables I mapped to the Airtable. It will gonna create that leads in the Airtable, and the rest of the workflow will goes just like what I said. Okay, so that's the total so that's the overall challenges that I faced while building this workflow and workflow. Now I'll give the demonstration of the workflow that I built. I told you there are three leads channels. So I'm going to start with the tally form. Okay, this is the tally form URL. So I have all the test data ready here. So let's paste all the values from this form to the tally fields. So for the email, I'm actually giving my one of my secondary mail. Later we need to get the email to this inbox. That's why I'm providing one of my secondary email. So okay, so the company is provide the company, and web design is a service. It's okay, web design budget range is 2,000 euro plus month. Okay, so give a message as well. So before submitting, I'll just make sure I'm running my workflow. Okay, alright, so I'm going to run the scenario. Put a paid for data, and then I submit the data. Okay, you can see the workflow is running, and the data is going through all these nodes, and now you can see. Alright, so I'll show you all the data flow through all these all these nodes. So firstly we have received the data here in this webhook. Here you can see all these in the fields. You can see the full name as Rebecca, and the email as this email, and company name and the service. All the data came here, and I fetched all the data to all these variables. Then I used it in to update the database. So I'm getting to this database, and here you can see that new data is entered. The new record is new record is created. Give me a second. Okay, so here you can see the new record is created, Rebecca X, and all this data. And here you can see the data is created, and it's all the lead score, and the score reason is updated later. It's updated from here only. So here you can see after getting here, we don't have the lead score, right? So the lead score and the score reason. So I'm making this HTTP call, and after that only I will get the lead score and score reason. So that is why this is updated here. You can see it's mapped to against the same ID, and here you can see two variables only updated. One is lead score and another one is score reason. Rest of them are empty. So then after that it will go to the next node, which is because of this score is, you can see the score is great. Score is 9, so it's greater than 9, so that our workflow will trigger this route. So and trigger this route, and I made another API cloud call, and here the output of the cloud call is the output, the cloud code, you can see here you can see this exact email content. In the text you can see this exact email content, which is an high intent format. This a content, this email written for the high intent client or the high intent lead. So then after that we'll make a Gmail, and yeah, send a Gmail node is active, and you can see I actually opened that profile, Gmail profile, and you can see the mails. Yeah, here you can see this is the mail written by Claude, and it actually received in the actual inbox. Hi Rebecca, thanks for reaching out. It's clear. So after that, we'll make a Slack message, and I'm showing you that Slack message exactly. So here you can say this is a message recently arrived, which is arrived in 12:24. It's 5 minutes before. So here you can see it's a new hot lead is received, and showing all the details Rebecca gives, and all the company, everything is here. Message from the lead is we are also written by here, and also I also the welcome email sent to Gmail. So it also tells you tells the person or the sales employee the email is already been sent, and you have to follow up in that way. So after that we'll create a HubSpot contact, then you'll create a lead against that contact. So you can see this is the this is the current, this is the lead that we created just before Rebecca. So all these things are created, and yeah. Okay, next we can test the next source that I integrated with this workflow, which is Gmail. So I am sending a Gmail from my secondary mail to the this workflow mail. That is actually your primary mail that we are assuming, and so I am pasting this content from this from here to my Gmail. This is my secondary mail. So yeah, the two is actually my connected account, and subject I provided, and yeah. Okay. Okay, I send this. So before that, I make sure the workflow is running. So okay, I am just making this run, and right now which is watching the email. So this is the time I'm sending this email. Okay, I'm sending this email, and hopefully it will reach the email box, and now you can okay, now you can see this workflow is triggered, and we make an HTTP API call.